Something weird is happening in the Dallas housing market right now. It's splitting right down the middle. On one side, luxury suburbs are soaring with record prices and all cash buyers. Then on the other, mid-tier and entry-level homes are being hit hard with layoffs and cancellations and steep price cuts. Depending on where you look, Dallas is either booming or breaking. Like, there is literally no way to generalize this market at all. Take our luxury market, for example. These are our most expensive suburbs, and they are exploding in value with huge price gains year over year. Think places like Highland Park, all right? Now, this is where your old money is. You're 15 minutes north of downtown, and it is this beautiful area of towering trees and majestic homes. Well, the current median sales price there is $2.545 million, and that is up 22.3% year over year. Then just a few minutes further north and you'll find another luxury area in Dallas called University Park. The median sales price here is $2.125 million, and it's holding steady at about 0.7% up year over year. Then we have Westlake, north of Fort Worth, okay? It currently has a median sales price of $8.7 million. But get this, the percentage increase year over year, okay? It is a staggering 218.7%. Okay, so you talk about a ridiculously booming market. And then you have Westlake's neighbor, Southlake, and it's also doing well, though it's not anywhere near like that same range. The median sales price in Southlake is $1.29 million, up 2.9% year over year. Okay, so we're seeing rising prices in these already very affluent areas. In some of these, the prices are just exploding. But what's even more astonishing, okay, is that the rich who are buying here, okay, most of them are paying all cash. The high interest rates aren't bothering them at all. Like, as an example, Highland Park has seen 24 closings in the past 90 days. 14 of those were all cash purchases on homes priced anywhere from $1 to $13 million. In other words, more than half the buyers here, they're not financing at all right? They're just casually writing checks for multi-million-dollar homes. And it's not like we're seeing across the board lowball offers with them paying all cash either. Like, one of them paid 122% of the list price in cash, okay? So we're talking about some seriously deep pockets here. In University Park, 25 out of 54 buyers paid all cash on homes with prices up to $8 million. In Westlake, 6 of the 8 sales paid all cash, okay? And then those purchases rose up to almost $10 million. Southlake saw a ton of cash buyers too in the last 3 months. 34 out of 123 paid all cash. So prices in our luxury markets are going up, but it's not phasing the buyers one single bit. You know, and interest rates aren't slowing them down either. Around half of luxury buyers in Dallas are paying all cash right now. So if you looked at just the luxury sector, okay, you would never even know there were any kinds of problems with unemployment or high interest rates. So this segment of the Dallas housing market is absolutely on fire. But then we have our second tier and a very different story, because while our luxury buyers are having no problems with multi-million-dollar prices, our mid-price market is hurting. So what do we consider mid-tier? Okay, let's give definition to that. Well, we're talking about like 600,000 to about like $1 million. Okay, and we're seeing that many areas in that price point are in a correction, while a few are even in crash territory. Like, some sales prices are down like 20% and more. Now, who is most likely to populate this segment of the housing market? Well, geographically, we have a strong concentration on this price point in Collin County, which are our areas north of Dallas. In terms of our actual buyers, okay, think about all of the tech sector that's being hit by layoffs. These are a lot of our buyers. As of September, Dallas Express reports there have been 1,081 layoffs in Texas, with 334, almost a full third, being right here in Dallas. So a lot of our buyers supporting this mid-tier fall in this career path, and a lot of them have either been laid off or they're afraid that they could be. Now, who else supports this mid-tier in housing? Well, our move-up buyers. And wouldn't you know it, another common scenario we're seeing is canceled contracts. We're talking about move-up buyers who are canceling contracts because they couldn't sell their starter homes. In fact, Redfin reports that roughly 58,000 U.S. home purchase agreements were canceled in July, equal to 15.3% of homes that went under contract. Then when the article goes metro by metro, it shows cancellations were even higher in DFW at 17.7%. So our mid-tier price range is being challenged. Now, I mentioned earlier that our mid-tier has a strong geographic concentration north of Dallas and Collin County. Well, while all of this is going on, the layoffs, the canceled contracts, Collin County, and more specifically places like Prosper, Salina, and McKinney, are being hit with a migration shift at the same time. So we also have a geographic component playing into this as well. People have always flocked to North Dallas and Collin County. We're talking Frisco, Prosper, McKinney, Salina. For years, those areas have exploded in demand. An article by Local Profile shares that Collin County has added nearly 200,000 residents over the last 4 years. Now, suddenly in 2025, we're seeing demand shift. Okay, now we have seen this personally. And guess where the demand is shifting? Well, suddenly more and more buyers are asking about the West and the Northwest. And this has led to a gap in demand on the north side, where we've always seen such strength, specifically in that mid-tier priced market. All through the 2020s, North Dallas has been the hottest area. I mean, Salina was everybody's baby, unless you could afford Prosper, which was slightly to the south. Builders couldn't build fast enough, and homes were snatched up as soon as they were available. This was true even through 2024. But then, like I said, in 2025, things started shifting. Suddenly, people aren't calling asking about Salina anymore. They're like, you know what, Wendy, this is just too much of a drive. Or a lot of times what I would hear is the traffic on 380 is just too much. And so suddenly we're seeing this shift. Client after client is asking us about the West. And it used to be we really didn't have that many buyers looking like in, Argyle, Northlake, Justin, Hazlet, right? And this sudden interest there, okay, it's hurting our areas with the biggest concentration of mid-tier home prices. Salina, for example, is overbuilt, and it needs people moving there to stabilize its inventory and bring those values back up. So what is behind this change in migration patterns? Well, you're probably wondering how people can manage what looks like a much longer commute from those exurbs out west. Well, believe it or not, the commute's about the same, okay? And I know that sounds crazy, but if you're commuting to downtown Dallas, all right, it's gonna take you around an hour and some change to get to Salina. Well, it's gonna take you almost the exact amount of time to get to Northlake, or for that matter, Argyle, or even Justin. The traffic in the beginning would be similar no matter where you're headed, right? Because you're leaving downtown, but it lightens way up as you head west, which kind of leads me into my next point. All right, the western exurbs are just less densely populated than Collin County. Salina's population density is 1,264 people per square mile. Then Prosper's is even higher at 1,940 per square mile. Then you have Northlake with a population density of 657, and then you have Argyle at just 587. So that difference is pretty huge. Those numbers are obviously going to communicate that traffic is a lot worse on the north side, and it's a big scourge. I hear from people wanting to move from Salina. 380 seems to be the major culprit for reasons why many people tell me they're not even considering Salina or Prosper. I mean, it is super highly congested, and it gets backed up very quickly during rush hour. And honestly, all right, it begs the question, right? Why would you blow up your suburb with thousands of new homes but not arrange for the infrastructure? I believe this is really affecting both Prosper and Salina. The cost of living in the West is also lower. Our mid-tier buyers are in a challenged economy, and your dollar stretches further to the West. I mean, if we think about Salina, all right, even just the fact it has so many PIDs. They have a lot of master plan communities, and Salina's city government facilitates using PIDs very heavily to fund those. Even without PIDs, Collin County property taxes tend to be higher. The Hillwood developer shares that Denton counties are the lowest of the 4 major counties in the DFW Metroplex. Now, if you look at the county tax rate alone, okay, you're probably going to say, that that's not true. The Denton County tax rate is 0.186, the Collin County tax rate is 0.149. But what you have to know is your property tax payment is made up more than just the county tax rate. And we already talked about PIDs, but you're also going to pay for the city tax, the school district, and other local taxes like colleges or hospitals depending on your county. All right, as an example, okay, the combined tax rate for Argyle is 1.17. Well, the combined tax rate for Salina is 2.06 plus any PIDs or MUDs at the specific community you're living in. So that's a pretty big difference. The cost of housing on the west side is lower too. On the northwest side, you're going to get more new construction for your money than you will in Salina. Like for example, you have one Highland home listed in Pecan Square in Northlake for $698,000 and one almost the exact same size listed for $879,000 in Salina. Just to help you kind of see this, your median sales price in Salina is $549,990. In Prosper, it's $810. Well, comparing that to our northwest side, we have Argyle at $478,000, Northlake at $530,000, and Justin at $373,412. So that tells you you're going to have more affordable choices along the 35W corridor, and especially to the west of it. There can also be a tendency to get larger lots out west as well, and the price per lot is usually lower too. So just a lot of contributing factors to this migration shift. And here's the thing, you don't have to settle. There are new construction communities on the west side that are just as nice as what you find to the north. You just end up getting more house for your dollar. And a big reason for that is that Hillwood is developing there. They are one of the top most desirable developers in the Dallas area, and it just so happens they built at Pecan Square in Northlake, Harvest in Argyle, and Treeline in Justin. So not surprisingly, our 3 areas where we're suddenly seeing so much demand all have Hillwood communities. It's interesting how all of this is being woven together to impact our mid-tier housing market. You have your tech sector layoffs, canceled move-up buyers, and then you have these quality developers migrating west and buyers following them. I mean, if you think about it, in Dallas, you have a lot of cheap cookie cutter communities by the hundreds, okay? But Hillwood isn't like that. When Hillwood comes to an area, it's going to be popular. Hillwood always brings in tons of quality builders across multiple price points. I mean, that is one of my favorite things about them. Like, you will often be able to find a mix from like $300,000 up to $800,000 homes. Like Pecan Square, for example, their prices range from the $420,000 like over $1 million. Hillwood also has like super unique themed amenities along with their Lifestyle by Hillwood model, which means you're gonna have lifestyle directors and all kinds of events. We routinely have buyers who say they want new construction, but they will only buy in Hillwood communities. Now, Hillwood does have 2 communities in Salina on that north side, but Liliana is almost full, and their second community, Ramble, won't open until 2026. So as of now, if you're like, hey, I want new construction, but only in a Hillwood community, you're just really not going to be finding it in Salina. But you are going to find it in Argyle, Northlake, and Justin. So you have this quality developer out there, and at the same time, all right, you don't have to sacrifice school ratings either. Prosper ISD is super highly acclaimed, and it's part of what's made our north side so popular. But Argyle ISD to the west scores every bit as high as Prosper ISD on the north side. So we've got our luxury market in super high demand, our mid-tier market being hit by unemployment, canceled contracts, and then of all things like these changing migration patterns. But then we have our entry-level market. Okay, so let's talk about that. Our entry-level market is hurting every bit as much as our mid-tier market, if not more. And this is where you see the biggest inequity between Dallas median income and median sales prices, because the buyers aren't coming in with a lot of cash to offset that difference. Fixer actually did a really interesting article on this. They said home ownership has declined dramatically over the past 25 years. in large part because housing prices have increased 197%, while the median household income has only increased by 40%. And this is where that imbalance will have the biggest impact, okay? This is also where we're going to see our most aggressive rate incentives from builders, because they know how much affordability is a problem and how much interest rates affect that. So at your luxury level, builders don't even have to care about interest rates, right? Because they're coming in with cash. All your buyers have cash. While at your entry level, buyers are very much vulnerable to rate movement. Our tendency when we talk about the housing market is to oversimplify. We want to believe in a one-size-fits-all housing market, right? If prices are crashing, then the whole market's crashing, that sort of thing. But that's just not the case, okay? Dallas is just weird that way. So what you need to know, okay, is that the market is deeply fragmented. It is split along economic status, with our luxury buyers tending to be wealthier and far less sensitive to interest rates. So demand there is holding strong. Prices are going up. Then our mid-tier is made up of dual income professionals, and that group is feeling the pinch from layoffs, job uncertainty, canceled contracts, and then these migration changes. And then our entry-level buyers are in the worst spot of all, okay? They are squeezed by the mismatch between wages and home prices. So do you see how it can feel like each group is living in a completely different economy within the same metro? This is why we can't just say Dallas is crashing or Dallas is booming, because both are true depending on which side of the market you're in. So as a smart buyer, you need to be aware of anyone who gives you a one-sided story, okay? You're gonna hear things like, Dallas is booming, these suburbs are booming, get in while you can, okay? Watch out for messages like that. At the same time though, you can't fall for the opposite message either. Some people are going to tell you the entire market is crashing. If you fall for that message, it can cause you to live in fear and miss out on good opportunities. It can also cause you to think something's a good deal if you see that it's deeply discounted. And neither are all the way true. You have to know the market at a very micro level. All right, you have to know that one area could be booming and one could be crashing. And that's what makes 2025 so strange. You cannot generalize at all. Now, I do want to make you aware of another shift you may see as we head into the end of the year. It has to do with mortgage rates and builders. This past May, rates were at 7.08%. Well, as of today, rates are sitting at 6%. With an FHA loan, you can get a 5.5% rate. So that makes a big difference in affordability. And last year, when this happened, it triggered a surge of buyers and rising prices. Well, we have already begun to see builders anticipating that change. In the past week, builders raised their prices on 204 of their listings. Now, this isn't super unusual. Builders manipulate prices all the time, but some of those price increases were as high as 12%. So now more than ever, you have to understand how confusing and manipulating pricing can be with new construction, especially with this deep fragmentation we're seeing across price points. Now, if you want to dig into that a little bit deeper, I made a whole video about it that you can check out right here. In the meantime, this is Wendy Pinnell, your Dallas Realtor, and I'll catch you on the next video.